Welcome to the Mystic Media channel. I'm your host, Rabina Rastaban, aka the Realist Astrologer. And this video reading request comes from one of my Real Talk Astrology Facebook group members. Her name is Lauren. So this is about two brothers. One of the brothers, Russell, is from the group High Five, that 90s R&B group. He has a younger brother named Ronald, and they both have been convicted of murder. They both have murdered uh, the women in their lives. So Ronald has murdered his wife, and Russell, the mother of his two children. So I'm going to start with reading an article that was posted on madamemoir.com back in 2017. Back in 2014, we told you that High Five singer Russell Neal had been arrested in the murder of his wife, Catherine Martinez. At the time, all we knew was that Neal went to the police to tell them that the couple had been in an argument and that she was in need of medical attention. From there, police found her dead in their apartment in Houston, as the cause of death was blunt force trauma. Martinez, the mother of Neal's two children, was also stabbed multiple times. After that, he refused to really talk to investigators about what went down, instead of opting for a lawyer. He was charged with murder and released on a bond of $100,000. More than 2 years later, there has been an update in the case. The series Crime Watch Daily, which is hosted by former To Catch a Predator host Chris Hansen, interviewed Martinez's family about their loved one in the incident. A model and fitness trainer, her family said they weren't really impressed with Neal from the beginning, but she liked him and was into money he said that he had. Catherine's sister, Emmy, said that she could tell something was off about him. There was something about him, his eyes. It was just something dark. So I didn't like him from the get-go, she said. It was just the way he came. Like, he was really stuck up. You ain't got no money. Stop it. Now, as you can see in the picture, Russell Neal is the one on the left. And you could see that there's something wrong with him by looking at his eyes. He got that one droopy eye. So I totally see what the sister is saying about there was just something about him, something dark, his eyes, because I definitely see it. I'm sure a lot of y'all can see it too. So basically, the article goes on to say that he ended up being, you know, unemployed boyfriend, father to their children, and she became the breadwinner. And it also talks about how he was abusive towards her and how she would show up at her family's house with bruises and scratches on her body and face. Now, basically, Russell is in a mental health facility. He's in a psychiatric hospital because they said that he is incompetent to stand trial. So he's in the Rusk State Hospital in Texas, and he is considered to be mentally ill. And but the police are saying they knew that he knew what he was doing when he attacked his wife. So basically, he killed his wife but kept her body for 2 days before going to the police. So the article goes on to say, and to make the situation even more of a mess, Neal's brother Ronald is accused of murdering his wife years ago and pleading incompetence to avoid standing trial. He was abusive to late wife Stovine Neal, and after she filed for divorce, he attacked her in 2007. He shot her multiple times while her son was in the home calling police. He initially tried to plead insanity, calling his attack on his wife a crime of passion, but he eventually dropped the claim and pled guilty. Ronald Neal was given 80 years, and he will have to serve 30 years in prison before he is even eligible for parole. Now let's get into these two brothers' charts. So Russell Neal, the one that was in High Five, he was born on May 28th, 1974. So that makes him a Gemini. He also has his Mercury in Gemini. Now, Gemini deals with siblings. So there's the connection with the sibling. Basically, him basically kind of mirroring his sibling. Now, the mirroring part comes in with his Mercury being conjoined to Saturn. So his Mercury is at the 29th degree of Gemini. That alone can produce a messed up early home life, a messed up relationship amongst your siblings, or maybe with one sibling in particular. It can even produce mental health issues because that 29th degree is the most challenging degree of them all. So it's no joke, and it produces conflict, internal and external. So Mercury is conjoined to Saturn, but his Saturn is in Cancer. So that Cancer influence deals with him emulating, mirroring his brother. Now, to add insult to injury, Russell Neal's South Node is in Gemini. And that points to there being some type of karmic debt involving siblings, relatives, what have you. It also points to him coming from a past life of moral relativism, because that's what Gemini produces, moral I'm sorry, moral relativism. So, in that vein, with Gemini on the dark side, Gemini can basically rationalize any wicked behavior, any type of nefarious act. So he's coming from a place of having loose morals, and also where he could be coming from a past life of where he had some mental health issues. He could even come from a family that has mental health issues. So his brother, Ronald Neal, has his moon in Gemini. So I don't know what time Ronald was born. I don't know what time Russell was born. So I don't know how close his moon is to Russell's South Node. But that definitely points to that influence. And again, because we're talking about the moon, this points to the whole emulation, mirroring. So it's basically really clear about why Russell followed Ronald's footsteps. It's kind of hard to get this out because they both have names that begin with R, which is very much Mercury in Gemini conjoined to Saturn in Cancer. So, not to make light of the situation, but this is really interesting because of that Gemini South Node. Now, the Gemini South Node, like I said, can produce issues regarding mental health. And Russell Neal has other factors in his chart that point to mental health issues as well. Like he has Mercury square Pluto. That can produce a reprobate mind, obsessive compulsive tendencies, a destructive nature, and where he's being influenced by external factors. So that could be his brother, and it could also be demonic entities. Now, about his brother Ronald. His brother Ronald is a Scorpio born November 9th, 1976. So he's younger than Russell. However, with Ronald being a Scorpio and he's a strong Scorpio, I would call him a hardcore Scorpio because he got his Sun, Mercury, Mars, Uranus, and his North Node all in Scorpio. So he is able to wield a lot of influence over others, whether it's directly or indirectly. And I feel like in this case, it was indirectly with respect to his brother Russell. So it's not like Ronald got in Russell's ear and was like, "Oh, this is how you take care of your girlfriend. This is how you take care of the problem." Again, I believe it stems from that South Node in Gemini, conjoined to Ronald's moon in Gemini, that deals with him basically emulating his brother, following in his footsteps with respect to the murder, with respect to the torture, abuse, all of that stuff. So again, because of that Gemini South Node, he could come from a family, a lineage of people who have mental health issues. And I feel like it stems from both his mother and his father in this current lifetime. So there's several factors in both of their charts that point to issues with their mother and their father basically not being model parents, or not being I'll say basically being dysfunctional in some type of way. So some of those factors include, with Russell, that would be his moon and square to Neptune dealing with his mother, his sun opposing Neptune dealing with his father, also sun semi-square Chiron that points to possibly abuse from his father, could be physical, could even be sexual. Sun semi-square Mars, that could point to Russell's aggressive nature, hyper aggressive nature, and him being very uncooperative, basically having no act right. And this could come from him learning these abusive ways from his father. Now, Russell's sun runs parallel to Cupido, and that points to him being in high five and being adored by his fans. Cupido is an asteroid that deals with being loved, being adored. However, with a person like that, when the adoration is gone, the person may feel worthless, they may feel inadequate, and they may have a hard time living as an average person. So it seems like that was definitely the case, and that could have been part of the impetus that really led to his mental health issues becoming more pronounced. So once the whole high five career was over, he may have felt like, he wasn't nothing because he wasn't receiving that love and adoration anymore. So he might have sought that from a woman. His moon is in Virgo, and that could deal with him looking for a woman that, is going to be humble in his presence, that's going to be a helpmate, and that is perfect in some type of way. A lot of men with moon in Virgo are looking for that perfect woman, the woman with the perfect face, perfect body. And this woman, she was very attractive. She had that very nice body. She was a fitness instructor, which is very moon in Virgo. So at the same time, this same man with moon in Virgo could end up being very insecure when dealing with this woman. So that goes into the fact of, okay, he gets abusive because he can't handle the fact that his woman is so attractive and other men are looking at her and all that stuff. He has Mars square Venus, which makes him uncooperative in dealing with other people. Basically, it means that he's not relationship oriented, and it brings the potential for him to be abusive. Now, his moon, I don't know what time he was born again, so his moon could be conjoined to Zosma, which is a fixed star that could indicate a troubled childhood. And also, going back to his moon situation, his moon being in Virgo and being square Neptune can point to a mother that is very passive, a mother that looks the other way while things are happening in the household. And it could point to a mother that is victimized in some type of way. His moon square sun could deal with strife, conflict between his mother and father that ends up being echoed in his personal relationships with women. And it deals with possibly personality disorder. He has other factors in his chart that point to serious issues with women, like his moon is opposed to the asteroid Juno. And that can deal with, Juno deals with the main issue in your relationship, the main problem. So with his moon opposing Juno, just like I said, with that moon in Virgo, he's looking for a perfect woman, a woman that is beautiful, youthful, all that stuff. But then he can't handle it. He becomes very insecure when around her, when seeing her out and about. His Mars is in Cancer, and that is a classic recipe for an abuser of women. Not saying that all men with Mars in Cancer abuse women, but the potential is there and it's strong. And this can also deal with problems with his mother. It can also deal with him having some effeminate ways. His Mars is conjoined to Pollux, which can bring ruin, death, disgrace, audacity. Pollux is a fixed star. His Mars is square Chiron, and this could deal with sexual dysfunction on his part. Also, where he suffers some form of sexual abuse. And this could deal with him suffering some type of wounds, but where the wounded becomes the person that inflicts wounds on others. So that Mars square Chiron, this can also deal with his actions just being weird or odd. It could deal with him going to extremes when he's angry, which he definitely did because he stabbed her multiple times. His Mars is in sesqui square to Neptune, and that could deal with drugs and or alcohol fueling his abusive tendencies. So like when he drinks or when he takes certain drugs, he might turn into Mr. Hyde and like just go ape shit on people. This could deal with him being passive aggressive, but to the point where it gets to be where, he takes on so much and then he just loses it after a while. And then this could deal with him concocting elaborate schemes on how to torture or inflict pain upon others, and also where he loses touch with reality. So he got some serious mental health issues that are indicated in his chart. His Mars is square Uranus. This could deal with him being uncompromising, his actions being erratic. Like, basically, you don't know what he's going to do next. Him being unpredictable, going to extremes, being rebellious. This also points to him breaking away from high five at one point because he felt like they weren't getting the money that they were due. Now, some things about his father. Well, both of their fathers, because they're brothers. Russell has Saturn square Pluto in his chart, and that can deal with a father that's very abusive, very controlling. He has Saturn parallel Lilith, which I feel like is very interesting. Now, this has a twofold meaning, in my view. This can deal with, in terms of women, because his Saturn's in Cancer, and Saturn in Cancer can produce challenges with women, starting with his mother, also karmic debt involving women. So this could deal with him getting with a very free-spirited woman or very sexually liberated woman, or a woman that appears to be very sexually liberated or that is very attractive, but him trying to correct her behavior, trying to restrict and limit her, trying to punish her for being so attractive, being so feminine. Also, it could point to, on the father end, perhaps some type of sexual abuse at the hands of the father. If not the father, perhaps a father figure such as a business manager. Now, what is interesting, I watched that unsung episode on High Five a few days ago. I watched it a couple of years ago when it came out, but I watched it again, and they had the business manager on there, and when I saw him, I was like, dude, look hella shady. And I was like, I wonder what this dude is hiding. And we all know how a lot of these business managers, producers, people in the industry, music industry, Hollywood, all types of stuff, we know how they're predators, sexual predators, even. So I'm seeing signs of this in Russell's chart in particular, because Russell was in high five. Russell has Saturn parallel Lilith, but he also has Saturn conjoined to Persephone, and this could deal with him being put through a hellish experience from time to time by either his father or a father figure such as a business manager. His Pluto is conjoined to Vesta, and this could deal with him being in sexual service to others, having sex, not for enjoyment, but because he has to fulfill some type of service or mission. His Pluto is opposed to the asteroid Eros, which can deal with having taboo sexual attraction, suppressed sexual desires, perhaps for males, due to what occurred in his childhood. Now, his Eros is in Aries, which can deal with sexual attraction to males. This is a sexual abuse aspect as well. His Neptune is opposed to Toro, and this could deal with him flying into a blind rage, also an alcohol or drug induced violence, and where he left high five over that record deal because Neptune represents the record industry. But back to what I said about the drug induced violence, these drugs could not just be illicit, they could be prescription drugs, because it's a known fact that certain psychotropic meds can cause people to go off on the deep end and commit egregious acts of violence, like crazy acts of violence that don't make any type of sense, that it's like overkill. And that's definitely what happened with Russell killing the mother of his two children. And he killed her while his two children were in another room in the house. Also, what I was going to say, oh, damn, I forgot what I was going to say about that. I think I was going to say something more about Neptune opposition Toro, but maybe it'll come to me. But the brother is not better off, much better off. As I said, he was born November 9th, 1976. That 9 birth number being a number of self-actualization, but it can cause him to be prone to conflict and violence. Now, going back to Russell, Russell's life path number is a 9. So again, that could deal with him being on the road to self-actualization, which he did being in high five, but it can also make him prone to conflict and violence. So there's that other connection between him and his brother. His life path being 9, Russell, and Ronald's birth number being 9. Now, Russell's birth number being 28. See, again, I'm trying to make sure I don't get their names mixed up. Russell's birth number of 28 points to him being very easily influenced by others. I might have mentioned that already, but I'm not sure. And also, um, Ronald's life path number of 7 points to possible mental illness and also a life of being in prison. And he was given 80 years, so that life path number makes a lot of sense. Now, his sun is in Scorpio. Like I said, he has all this other Scorpio energy. And again, that deals with him being able to wield great influence over others. All Scorpios have this ability, whether they're doing it directly or indirectly. Now, going back to the issues with the father, Ronald has his sun and square to Saturn in Leo. And that could deal with a father that is very controlling, that is abusive in some type of way, that is a punisher, that may even resort to corporal punishment. And there could be the themes of sexual abuse as well because of the two signs involved, Scorpio and Leo. So again, I'm seeing some crazy dysfunction involving the father and also just dealing with their early home life. Now, Ronald's moon is opposed to Neptune. Now, again, I don't know what time these two were born, so I don't know what degree the moon is at, but considering the circumstances, I would think that these aspects involving the moon are very close. So again, Ronald's moon is opposed to Neptune, and that could deal with the imprisonment and also mental health issues where he is delusional, paranoid, loses touch with reality. He is very passive of an individual because he's in his own world until he basically has that moment where he feels like his back is up against the wall. He's like in a corner. Also, this can deal with a very permissive mother. Again, that basically checks out, that doesn't deal with reality, or a mother that is victimized in some way. And it can point to abandonment issues and where he loses it over a woman, or where also he tries to trap or imprison a woman. Now, Ronald's Neptune is conjoined to Lilith, and Lilith can deal with sexual liberation, but it can also deal with sexual deviance. So this could deal with some type of secrets or victimization that Ronald suffered as well at some point in his life, probably in the early part of his life. And this can also deal with him being looked at as a pariah, just like his brother, for doing the crime that he committed. Even looked at as a pariah in prison. So he may not get no respect in prison because of what he did, because the children were in the house and all that type of stuff. Now, his moon is opposed to Venus, and that can deal with issues with women. A partner can trigger irrational responses within him, and where he doesn't let people in emotionally, but he still creates relationships with people, but he's not really there. So his moon, quincunx Mars, can deal with him being abusive. I think I already mentioned that. And Ronald's Mars is at the 22nd degree of Scorpio. And let me see, Russell's Mars is at the 23rd degree of Cancer. So they're Mars trying each other. So that can deal with their actions being in sync or their actions being congruent with each other. Interesting. Also, like their motivation being very much similar. And also their way of carrying out actions and plans and all that type of stuff. So that is another aspect that points to here I go. Russell being easily influenced because Mars in Cancer is the emulator. Mars in Cancer will mirror others. So with Ronald's Mars in Scorpio, again, that's showing that Ronald, even though he's younger, is the more dominant one in the situation, and that he is the one influencing Russell. But again, it could be indirectly, not directly. So just a couple of more things. Ronald's Mars is conjoined to Mercury, and again, that could deal with him influencing his brother, acting on dark thoughts, having violent tendencies, and where he's trigger happy. And he did shoot his wife multiple times. And his Mercury is conjoined to the asteroid Tisiphone, which Tisiphone, I always say, that's the asteroid that brings the pain. So that deals with him being verbally and physically abusive, and also where he ended up being judged harshly, handed that harsh prison sentence, because Tisiphone also deals with being judged harshly. His Mercury is conjoined to the fixed star Zubin El Shamali, which can bring tragedy, violence, and melancholy. His Mars is opposed to Jupiter, and that could deal with him being filled with righteous indignation. Also, where he engages in vigilante justice and where he goes too far when he's angry. Also, his Venus is in semi-square to Uranus, and this can deal with him being insensitive towards women, unaffectionate, um, where he objectifies women, where it's like they're not even human, so he could do what he wants with them, and where he has an inability to form peaceful unions. So he probably won't even get along with his cellmates, or his, the people, his the members in prison and all that stuff. So there it is right there. They have a very close connection, but it's stemming from a past life. And again, with Russell South Node being in South Node being in Gemini at the 20th degree, that can point to him having a family history of mental illness. So I feel like, their family is cursed. And so they might have some demonic entity that's like flowing through their family, or just this demonic energy that causes them to do a lot of dirty, shisty, evil shit. So again, these two brothers are definitely dealing with some serious mental illness, but again, I feel like it stems from the father in particular, or a father figure. And I feel like their mother was rather passive or a victim in some type of way. Now, this is all speculation on my part. I could be wrong, but as I always like to say, the proof is in the astrological pudding. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the comment section. If you would like a reading, you could go to my website at rabina.com. And also, you may want to consider signing up for my first workshop of my Real Talk Astrology webinar series, which is taking place on June 30th. That's a Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be very informative, and it's going to be a lot of fun as well, because I like to have some fun. I like to um, add some humor to the mix and all that stuff, but you also know that I'm going to keep it real. So if you would like a personalized relationship profile reading, which basically discusses your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats in terms of relationships, purchase a ticket. It'll definitely be worth it. And the first 15 people that sign up will receive their personalized relationship profile reading during the workshop. The remaining 5, because there's 20 virtual seats available, so it's limited, and now there's only 17 seats available. So the remaining 5 will receive their relationship profile reading via email after the workshop is concluded. So I'm going to leave the link to this workshop. It's via Eventbrite, just to keep things legit. So definitely, if you're in need of some insight, definitely want to consider signing up. Peace and many blessings, and stay tuned for more videos.